Hello and welcome to how to do two-point perspective instrumental drawing. Instrumental being the important part. Lots of things on the internet to do with two-point perspective, not so much to do with instrumental two-point perspective. But we're on part 9 today. Forgive me if we skipped 8. 8 I found was a little bit repetitive, so we're going straight to part 9, where we are going to do a lovely little drawing called the Arc de Triomphe. The Arc de Triomphe is of course in Paris, France, on the Champs-Élysées, and you might recognize this building, one of the most recognizable buildings in the world. And I thought it was pretty cool. That was before I went there and found out it was amazing. What I didn't realize, it's got an arch on the side as well. So as you saw before, the big arch is on the wider side. On the thinner side there's also an arch, which our drawing is not going to have. But what you'll see on our drawing is very simplified. You have lots of detail in here on the sides, amazing sculptures on the sides, and of course what you never get a sense of in the movies or on TV when you see it is the sheer size of this thing. That's me in the foreground, looking up at this huge arc, very famous arc. And to give you an idea of what we're doing, this is the Arc de Triomphe. And what we really want is this perspective to be really large on our page. And the trick will be, there's two tricks that or levels of complication that we want to add into this video. And the first being, you're going to have to set it up yourself. We're going to need, you might find yourself in need of a compass or divider, your pens, your set squares, maybe even a French curve. Seems appropriate to do the curve. But on the sheet, you really only have not much to go on. We've got the ground line and we've got the elevation. We're going to have to put in the plan, the picture plane, the station point, the horizon line, the true height line, and the vanishing points, all on ourselves, by ourselves. And this is the way that I do it. Of course, you can do it a different way, and it would be good if you did it a different way. That way, when we come back together, we can show all our different views and what happens when we do things different ways. So the first thing that I'm going to do is start with my picture plane, and I'm going to put that up the top. So right near the top, the picture plane. I'm going to label that picture plane. Now from 10 millimeters out here, I'm going to want my my vanishing points as wide apart as I can get them on my A3 page. So I'm going to start with the part, finding the station point from my picture plane, and where I do this will depend how I do this will depend greatly upon the angle that I'm going to do it on. So I'm going to want to come up around here, give myself the widest space I can. Now having an angle like this is going to mean that I'm going to see a lot. I'm still going to see the front, but that's going to be receding quite heavily, and but I'm going to see most of the side. So right here is where my station point will be. Just going to label this. Station point. So that's my observer. And so I've got my station point now. I've got my picture plane, and now we want to find where our plan is going to be. So our observer is looking at this invisible wall over here, and our plan doesn't have to touch this wall here. It could be a lot closer to him. Remember, Al, obviously not to scale. So the here is our plan. So you could actually photocopy it and stick it on, but in order for no paper to be in the way of our set squares, I'm going to put it fairly around about here. I'm kind of done this exercise a little bit, so I do have a sense on where the plan needs to be in relation to the observer in order to get, because the lines will go up onto the picture plane. So if I place my observer here, I'll be going up about there, and I'll get the picture round about there. So I'll just offset my plan just a little bit from the observer. The right angle there, and this is where I need my compass. You could use a ruler, of course. We just need to measure this. Width and length. Just mark the paper with the divider. And that is the plan. Now in this elevation you'll see some lines. These are just lines dividing up this space for us to use as guides to do the arch. So I'm just going to put those in. Those are going on the line of, that's the inside line. Now, the horizon, where we put the horizon line is going to depend on where we want to view it from. So in relation to our elevation here, do we want our observer looking up at it or looking down at it as if in a helicopter or in a large skyrise, or do we looking up at it like a worm or a snail or a person? Now, to get the idea of its hugeness, I think maybe we want to have our eye line very near the ground or on the ground. If it's on the ground, it won't look like a very interesting perspective, the bottom of the plinth will look pretty much flat. But to get a dynamic sort of corner like so, we're going to want to be above the ground line. So that's what I think I'll do. I've never done this design looking up. One day I will. But for now, I'm going to be like a human, something like a human, and I think I'll be sort of around. More around here, just slightly above the ground line. So my horizon line needs to be down here and down here. Now, I could do that line all the way across, but in the final analysis it might get in the way of the perspective, so I'm just going to hold off on putting it anywhere. So we've got our horizon line, and let's get our vanishing points. Coming down from the picture plane, here we have our first vanishing point. Vanishing point, call it right, and down here vanishing point left. Now our true height. So the true height of our thing, we could put it over here, or we could put it over here. Really, it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't affect it. We could put it even over here. But I think to make it easy, we'll put it like this. And we'll use this as our true height line. So when the lines are projected across onto this true height line, I'll label it so we don't lose it. This is the back wall, or our picture plane, looking at it in elevation, and these lines are projected across onto that true height. That is the height of this thing if the wall was actually in that depth, of course. So we can do that. So we've got our true height. That's the engine, or that's the setup. And if you've done this well and thoughtfully, when we start the projection, it's going to be completely on the page and not off the page, and be quite large, so we can get as much detail as we can. So from this point, the projection begins. The projector turns on, the engine starts running, and we start to project across. Let's do the crate first. So here we have our back wall. Okay, that wall in the projection is represented by this line here in the engine when we're thinking about the plan, and this wall here going across there in the engine when we got our minds orientated to the elevation. Where that wall stops in the plan is here, and in the projection up through here do this front corner as well while we're at it. So that right there is the back of our crate. This right here is the front of our crate. From the vanishing point on the right, I'm going to take that out. So this is what we're seeing, the ground here, the bottom of our crate. Where does it stop? The station point to the back corner. Comes down. Back corner is here. Because this is really narrow, just a fraction of a millimeter, if that isn't dead on, this line is going to be quite dramatically off. You can see I'm not really sure if this part here is intersecting here or here, which is, you know, about a space of 4 millimeters. I don't know where exactly it is, so I'll just do project up from the station point up towards through the front or the leading edge, back to the picture plane, to get where it is really precisely. Okay, and I'm glad I did that because it seems that this line was just a tad off. Okay, so I get the height across there. Here we're doing the top of the crate. Okay, so the top of our crate is right here. I'll just put in the dots so that we will be able to see. Where the top of our crate is, you'll notice it goes through there, which is correct. So those 4 dots there, 1, 2, 3, 4, are the top of our crate, and these dots here, 1, 2, 3, 4, are the bottom of our crate. So right in the center there, we'll have a nice large perspective drawing. Pity this one will be in the way. Oh well. Right, so let's get our inside details. I'll start with the bottom of this plinth. It comes across onto the true height line. So get these two lines coming across. And out from the vanishing point, they come up the back wall. And around the crate. Up the back wall, onto the crate, and around the crate. So there we have the bottom part of the plinth, or at least the bottom height of that plinth, and these parts that are touching the edge of the crate. Now let's get this one. The height of it will be here, and this will show us the full line on either side. So from the vanishing point up the back wall, and to get where that line is on that back wall, go from the station point onto the corner of that inside of the leg of the arc, and this comes down. So I just want to get this space here, that position there where that line extends back onto the outside of the crate, to take that down on the back wall of that crate. This line following this line out there. So there. So this line, as it comes out through there, which is the height of the this leg, comes through there, and where that leg is, positioned right there, and where that one is right there. So we've got this one and this one right now. So when I go through that point onto that line, that's where that line takes off. Where does that line stop? Somewhere in there, on there. onto here. So that'll be one way to do it. Is one thing that you have to watch out for on this drawing is making sure that the arc is inset, not only back from the front face, just that it's set on the inside of the front face. Now our crate is the outside there, and that's been really helpful when we're doing that parts of the Arc de Triomphe that touch the outside of the crate. It's not so helpful for these little bits that are inset both ways, inside and inside. There. So there is another sneaky way which I can show you on how to get that arc, so we don't have to do this every time. So that is one way to do it. Here is the other way. It's a sneaky way. It's a clever way. Might be a time-saving way. It's perfectly legit. Okay? So that is, if we were to do this line as a true height line, everything here would be exactly the same. What we can also do, and what as that would come out, it would be that front part of our crate. But if we do this line, which is the inside of our crate, representing the plane on which the arc is drawn, that is going to be our true height line number 2. So it is a plane that is inset. So that's our current true height. Here is our secondary true height. Okay. So when we take the height of our arc all the way across here, we get a point there. Let's take all of these heights across here. Label this so it doesn't get lost. True height line 2. Thus we can take this straight up, and this is no longer on the plane of the outside of the crate, but it's the positioned precisely like the where the inside, or where the arc is drawn on this inset. Just redo this line. So now I can take these to the station point, looking up. Remember, I have this point, this point, this point, this point, this point, this point, and this point. If I wanted to be clear, I would label them with the, like I did the points of the circle in part 7 and part 4. This being as complicated as it is, and as intricate as it is, not that it can't be more intricate, you've seen the real thing in life, when you've done this, in my judgment, you should be ready to do your own design. Yeah, it'd be a challenge, but you've got all the skills once you've done this to do your own design for your house or whatever it may be. Your own 2-point instrumental perspective. It's vitally important you use a really sharp 2H pencil because these, obviously there are a lot of lines and they're just going to be rubbed all over the page if you're not using the correct stationery. The position of the bottom of the foot. The bottom of the right foot. Through there. It's also vitally important that everything is measured. Everything is taken from up through the plan, down from the picture plane. Nothing estimated. It's instrumental 2-point perspective. Let's just get the top of this, where the top goes. Oh. Okay. Down here. So this point there is this point there on the edge of our first crate, and then coming back from there through this point on the inside, coming down, this one there. So that top corner, really get a clear idea of how you have to inset both directions. Mastering the standard that you want to achieve is going to require that you really know how to set up your engine, or the engine of this projector, so you get a really good view. And I think that I've got an excellent view on this Arc de Triomphe, mainly because I'm going to see part of the back of this curve coming back. So, yeah, I believe all my lines are done now. I'm just going to go over these with my thick pen to really bring this up. You'll be doing it in still with a very hard 2H pencil. So once again, as I finish up here, there's the trick of setting up the engine yourself and getting the best view, the view that shows the most detail, the clearest detail. In this case, gives the sense of the humongousness, the hugeness of the object is the well, that's part of the standard, getting excellence. And secondly, what's great about this exercise is it forces us to do this arch or this detail on a plane that is inset, into the crate. So the front of our crate is here, and just in behind that is where the arch is going, on the plane behind that. And so to do that, we put in a second true height line, a true height line that was on that plane. That doing it on this one made it easier because it was straight up straight up from there. But that is our Arc de Triomphe. I hope you enjoyed that, this cool little exercise. If you've done this successfully, once again, I think that you are ready to do your own design. And so good luck. God bless. See you next time.